She was called America's first female serial killer, a woman driven by rage, survival, and something far darker. This is the story of Aileen Wuornos. Welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the most mysterious and haunting true crime cases. If you haven't already, please hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because today's case is unlike any other. Aileen Wuornos, one of the most infamous female killers in American history. Between 1989 and 1990, she left a trail of blood along the highways of Florida. But her story was far more complicated than simple murder. Was she a cold-blooded killer or a woman pushed to her breaking point? Aileen Wuornos' life was marked by hardship from the start. Born in Michigan in 1956, Aileen's childhood was anything but normal. Her father was in prison for heinous crimes before she was even born, and her mother abandoned her and her brother when she was just a toddler. By the age of 15, Aileen was homeless, surviving in the only way she knew how. She began working as a prostitute, hitchhiking along highways, doing whatever it took to survive. But years of abuse and neglect had left their scars. Aileen's life was marked by pain, and by anger that only grew with each passing year. For Aileen, the world was a brutal place, and soon she would begin to unleash that brutality on others. In the late 1980s, Aileen moved to Florida, still working as a prostitute to make ends meet. She drifted from town to town, picking up clients along the highways. But on November 30th, 1989, Aileen crossed a line from which there would be no return. Her first known victim was Richard Mallory, a middle-aged electronics store owner. Aileen later claimed that Mallory tried to assault her, and in a desperate act of self-defense, she shot him. She fired multiple times, leaving his body in a wooded area. But this would not be her last killing. Over the next year, Aileen continued to kill. Each of her victims met a violent end along the quiet, lonely roads of Florida. Whether these were all acts of self-defense, as Aileen claimed, or something far darker, would become a question that haunted investigators. One by one, more bodies were discovered. David Spears, Charles Carskadden, Troy Burris, and others. Each man had been shot, stripped, and left in isolated areas. At first, the police thought they were dealing with random killings, but soon, a pattern began to emerge. Investigators noticed that each victim had been last seen with a blonde woman hitchhiking. It wasn't long before the media picked up the story, dubbing her the highway killer. But Aileen Wuornos remained elusive, moving constantly, leaving little evidence behind. She stayed one step ahead of the police, drifting between motels and gas stations. It was only a matter of time, though, before her luck ran out. In early 1991, authorities finally caught a break. Aileen's last known victim, Peter Seams, had a car that she'd abandoned, with her bloody palm print still on it. Soon, tips began pouring in, leading detectives to a small bar in Port Orange, Florida, where Aileen was finally arrested. In custody, Aileen initially denied everything, but after days of questioning, she confessed to the murders, claiming she acted in self-defense each time. She described each killing in graphic detail, insisting that the men had all tried to harm her, but the stories didn't always add up. During her trial, Aileen's self-defense claims were met with skepticism. The prosecution painted her as a cold-blooded killer who preyed on unsuspecting men for money. Her defense, however, argued that she was a deeply troubled woman, a victim of abuse, struggling to survive. Aileen's trial became a media circus as the public couldn't look away from this rare case of a female serial killer. In 1992, she was convicted and sentenced to death, but even after her conviction, her story continued to fascinate the world. Some viewed her as a monster. Others saw her as a tragic figure, a woman who had been brutalized by life and fought back in the only way she knew how. After a decade on death row, Aileen Wuornos was executed by lethal injection on October 9, 2002. Her final words were chilling. "I'll be back. Like Independence Day with Jesus. Big mothership and all. I'll be back." Her death closed one chapter of the case, but questions lingered. Aileen's story continues to raise issues about trauma, mental health, and the thin line between survival and violence. Aileen Wuornos' case stands as one of the most complex and haunting in true crime history, a tale of desperation, rage, and survival gone horribly wrong. If this story captivated you, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Turn on notifications to uncover the next chilling mystery with us. Until then, stay curious and stay safe.